Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my August reading wrap up. It was an interesting month of reading with some really good highs and some books that honestly don't really stand out in my recollection, but overall I'm pretty satisfied with my reading and I'm here to share it with you. The other thing that should have come out is a companion video to this, which was literally me just talking about how I picked every book that I was reading in the month of August. So hopefully that's already been released and you can get a bit of an insight into that. It's a follow on from a collaboration from earlier in the year. So every book should have been mentioned in that video, and I'm going to be talking about 7 books in this video that don't feature in any other videos that either have been released or are coming out in the upcoming month. So we're going to dive straight into it with some basic stats. I read 48 books in August for a total of 11,300 pages, which is a beautiful round number. It's very rare that we get a beautiful round number like that. I had 7 rereads during the month. Most of those were children's fiction books. And I also had 5 DNFs overall, which will feature in a DNF video at the end of the year. As per usual, I'm going to show you a graphic of everything that I read this month. And then these were all my rereads. These are all the books that I read but feature already in videos or will be featuring in videos very soon. And these are the books that I have not talked about in any video yet so far. So they'll be in today's video. For anyone who is looking to find reviews of some of these books, the videos that have already come out talking about these books are my Buzzwordathon August reading vlog. My last 5 new release romances book featured a few of these books, as well as the Tri-Chapter Hockey Romance Edition. All the books that I featured in those videos were part of this collection of books. I do have a few more upcoming videos where you'll see the rest of them, so stay tuned, they're coming. In terms of books that I haven't talked about anywhere so far, we have 7. The first one being Rock Flight by Hasib Hourani, which is a poetry collection. This is written by a Lebanese Palestinian poet. The book is a book-length poem, so the poem continues throughout the text over 7 chapters. We are looking at kind of a, what do they call it? A personal and historical narrative that is an allegory to Palestine's occupation. So it is not always an easy read. It was at times confronting. It was also very thought-provoking and beautifully written. You guys know I love myself a good poetry collection, and one that spans the length of a book is also really interesting to read, just because it's not something I read all the time. The poetry forms in it shift and change depending on what is being told, and that makes for a really interesting reading experience. So I picked this up at Amplify Bookstore about a month and a half ago. So I was glad that I was able to read it within a timely fashion. Then I read a short story by Fredrick Backman, The Answer Is No, and I am very much becoming a fan of Fredrick Backman's work. I actually quite like his writing style, and the way that it's translated is also always really good. And in this case, this is a short story about someone who lives in an apartment block and doesn't want to be involved in any of the body corporate kind of stuff or with his neighbors or anything like that, just wants to live his life. And this quiet kind of existence is shattered when a trio of people who are kind of the authority of like the body corporate ring his doorbell demanding to see his frying pan because someone has left a frying pan out on the nature strip, and that's not on because it's, you know, ruining the aesthetic of the apartment. And if someone leaves their frying pan there, anyone could do it. Lucas, our main character, is like, no, and finds himself being voted in as the head of the person to investigate why the frying pan is there, which of course then other residents begin leaving their hard rubbish on the nature strip, and this becomes unmanageable. Lucas is inundated with neighbors and this trio who are forcing responsibility on him, and then it is like, I can't even describe it because it is so funny how it all just evolves really quickly. And Lucas still can't understand how he got caught up in this because he didn't want to be involved. But you can totally see it happening. I mean, as someone who lives in an apartment, I don't think it would be this extreme just the way that my apartment works. But yeah, it was funny. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. If you're looking for a short literary story that's very witty, like, this is a good one. Then I read one of my most anticipated books of the year. I actually received an arc of A Love Most Brutal by Kath. This is the second book in the Morelli family series. It is a mafia romance, except the mafia in this family is headed by a female mafia boss. And this book is about her youngest sister, Mary, who is the enforcer. And this book, while it still has its light moments, is much darker than the first book, which, you know, isn't surprising given it's a mafia romance. Mary's the younger sister, she's the enforcer, and she feels a very strong need to protect her family. And after the events of the first book, she feels like she's not able to do that effectively. And it really drives anxiety and almost a compulsion to try and find the best way to keep everyone safe, which is starting to drive her around the bend a little bit because she can't find the best way to do it. She ends up in a marriage of convenience with Maxim, who is the head of the local Russian mafia. This is an age gap story. Mary is 26, he is 38. They were kind of dancing around one another very briefly in the previous book. And in this book, we really get this story. This is 100% a he falls first. She tells him straight away when this proposal is arranged that she will not love him. She will give him an heir because that's what he needs. He needs this marriage in order to produce an heir. She needs someone to help protect her family. So that's what she's getting out of it. But she's, you know, declares straight, like, I can't do this. I love the people that I love so much. I don't have anything left. Both these characters are capable of so many things. They are both capable of violence, to the extent that Maxim is even shocked about the lengths that Mary will go to in order to do her job for her family. And a lot of this is them, one, finding a way to manage this relationship and to fall for one another. There's a lot of yearning and pining, and it is amazing. It's also Mary finding balance within her family because her family begin to see how much pressure she's putting on herself, and they never wanted that. And part of it is Maxim calling them on that. And while normally it would annoy me about a male partner trying to adjust their female partner's standing within a job or a family or whatever, like, we can see that it's not actually healthy for Mary. He doesn't want to stop her from doing her job, but he thinks that there are other ways that she can go about it that still means she's fulfilling the purpose she set for herself. It's a mafia story. There is still gun violence and crime and all of those things happening, like that's part of the story. But at the heart of it is this really beautiful relationship that develops between two characters who have a lot of heart and a lot to give and are trying to find a way to share that with each other. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm waiting for my copy to arrive. I ordered it from Kath's website and I can't wait because I will probably reread. I'll do a reread of the entire series when I have that because it was amazing. Then I read In the Long Run by Emma Mugglestone, which is her most recent release, but is her first traditionally published book as well. I had a NetGalley arc of this, but I also was able to get the audiobook. So I actually didn't get to read it before it came out. I read the audiobook as soon as that was out. It was really fun. It's a contemporary romance. It's set in Australia. We're following Jen and Knox. Knox is current army and he is in town very briefly and he ends up meeting Jen coincidentally. The two of them both discover that they have a shared love of running and end up helping each other with marathon training and also helping other people. They end up forming a running group with a group of people from a local gym. And a lot of the build up to their relationship is that they're working together to support this group of people who are all planning on participating in this marathon. There's some really cute elements like the fact that in order to support a really good friend of Knox who's quite old, who has this little bakery coffee shop, they form the Croissants and Kilometres running club so that if you are running as part of the marathon, it finishes at this cafe and you get a coffee and a croissant at a discount or whatever it is. And that part was really cute because that's very much an Australian thing to do. It just feels very quintessentially what people here would do with a running club. It's a story that starts off as two strangers meeting, becoming friends. There's a little bit of fake dating in here for reasons, and it's 100% a Knox falls first situation. He is head over heels for her, but he's also currently on the wait list for a pretty big promotion that would see him deployed overseas, and he is not quite sure what to do if and when that happens. So it's an interesting story about two characters who are figuring out where they are in their life, what they want out of a relationship, and how they navigate that together, with running as sort of a ongoing theme throughout the book, which makes it a sports romance, but one that's a little bit different. So it was very cute. I had a really good time with it. I also read Heart of Stone by Evie Mitchell, which is one of her most recent releases. It is an MC romance, but oh my gosh, this one was super sweet and adorable. We have Andy, who is a local mechanic. She's very good at her job, but her sister has just left her twin daughters, Andy's nieces, plus an infant. So there's the twins and an infant. I forgot about the third child, but there's 3 of them at her place, and taken off and said, you need to look after them, which is just the most overwhelming prospect for Andy. She loves her nieces. She wants them to be safe and happy. And so she figures that the best way to do is she's going to go back to her sister's house and she's going to look after them there until she can figure out what's going on. Namely, she's had enough of her sister running off and just leaving her kids, and she's going to try and file for guardianship. And when she gets to her sister's house, it is a disgusting mess. And so Andy is even more overwhelmed. And across the road from her happens to be the local MC clubhouse. And that's where Hawk is. Hawk at first is kind of judgmental because he can hear the kids crying. She's out on the veranda or the porch and she isn't coping, but he doesn't know the backstory behind it. He doesn't really know who lives in that house, just that he can hear kids crying and she's not running inside to fix it, until there is a connection between the two of them. Andy's boss is a member of the MC, and when people in the club figure out that she doesn't have access to hot water or electricity or things like that because her sister hasn't paid the bills, they're quick to say, you know what, come over, we're going to look after you, we're going to get things sorted. And then we sort of uncover that the MC itself is currently investigating a local big business that is trying to get residents to sell because they would like to, you know, convert the area into its own purpose. And so Andy and Hawk end up with a lot of forced proximity situations. And this is very much a small town, forced proximity, found family kind of situation, which I always appreciate because Evie Mitchell does those well. And this is the first MC romance I've read in a while that I have thoroughly enjoyed. So that's always a bonus. I also finally read Archangel's Ascension by Nalini Singh. This is book 17 in the Guild Hunter series, and it is the second book in Aiden and Ilium's story. This book is interesting because we are jumping forwards and backwards in time. The main timeline in the present day of this story is very far into the future because Ilium has finally ascended, which, if you're at all familiar with the Guild Hunter world, this is not a surprise to you. And it is how and why everything that happened between the previous book featuring Ilium and the current book, what's happened, where they all are, what's going on in the greater world of the Guild Hunter series, where all our characters are, where their relationships are at, and what happens when Ilium does eventually ascend as an archangel, because that has huge ramifications for all of the characters in the book as well as the world. And it's also got huge implications for Bluebell and Sparkle on their relationship and how they move forward, particularly how their relationship is helping Aiden in particular to overcome sort of the trauma of his past. A lot of people get upset because even though it's a queer romance, Nalini Singh doesn't necessarily dive into that in depth in terms of open door sex scenes, which I'm going to be perfectly honest, I don't care about. I think that's people demanding sex scenes for the sake of demanding sex scenes. Would they have been good in the book? Sure. Is it necessary? No, because I think the strength of their relationship has always been their connection. And also, I'm not about, you know, asking authors to write something that they may or may not be comfortable writing about in detail when you can allude to it just fine. Like, that's just not a thing. I was just glad that we got to spend more time with the boys because they are two of my favorite characters in the entire series. All right, and then the last book that I read that I'm going to talk about in this video is Meegan by Rebekah Weatherspoon. I've been meaning to read this for ages. It was part of a try chapter and I just finally decided to finish reading it. We have Meegan, who is a kinder teacher, and Olin, who is a tech billionaire who now spends his time kind of fundraising and going to charity things. And he is sick and tired of all the socialite ladies trying to set him up with people and dates, so he wants a fake date. He's mutual friends with Meegan through Zenny, who is a character that I quite like. Oh, and Olin also is autistic, so that's another layer of his frustration with the entire situation. And so Zenny sets them up as fake dates for social events, and they agree to a contract, etc. And it's fine because, you know, Meegan is quite happy-go-lucky. She's very willing to go with the flow. As the two of them get closer, they begin to share more about themselves, how and why they are the people that they are. And in Meegan's case, she talks a lot about how she is a submissive. She's been a very big part of the BDSM scene in her local community. She was part of a found family group that has since separated, and she's struggling with that because she's not been able to find anyone who can sort of support what she needs sexually in the same way that they did previously. And so she's kind of cut herself off from the remaining members of those family. Like, she still sees some of them, but she doesn't see others. This plays a lot on her mind as she gets closer to Olin and they decide that maybe they can try a relationship. She's really inducting him into the kink scene and to her preferences. and he's having to explore his own preferences, and there's some really cool things around understanding and unpacking that and the importance of consent and trusting your own boundaries. There's also some really great scenes where Olin agrees to go with Meegan back to this kink club that she was a huge part of. She was one of the kind of most well-known members of this club. When they go there, he deals with sensory overload and he feels so bad when they have to leave. But she quickly points out that was a big part of her life, but it doesn't have to continue to be a big part of her life because she may be now ready to move on and to start something different. And they might go there at different times and when it's not quite so overwhelming for him. Like, there's a lot of really great discussion and balance and nuance to the story that Rebekah Weatherspoon does really well. So I'm really glad that I finally got a chance to finish reading that. All right, so those are the books, and now for the Bingo Board from Hell update. We're tracking pretty well. So in terms of reading 100% of my pre-2025 TBR, I'm currently sitting at 88.23% books read, which means I have 6 books left to read, which is very doable for the last quarter of the year. I had the prompt to read 75 audiobooks and I have read 61 so far, so we're on track for that. I was going to film and upload 12 tri-chapter videos this year. I'm up to 10 and I'm about to film my 11th one in the next week or so. As for finishing or catching up on the 15 series that I have on my list this year, I have completed 10 because I finished Beartown by Fredrick Backman, so I've got 5 series left. Not a whole lot of books left to go, but I do need to make a bit of a move on with those. For my 80% of my monthly TBR, I did complete all of that. I read or DNF'd every single book that was listed in my previous TBR video. So I think I had 4 DNFs from that list and the rest were all read. And yes, my DNFs count towards my 80% because I tried them all. They only don't count if I don't try them. I have read 59 middle grade or young adult titles this year, so we're trying to see how many I get to before the end of the year since I hit my target of 50. I've currently read 87.27% of my read 75% of my 2025 physical TBR, which is excellent. I want to keep that going because I want to always have less physical books. I've read 16 non-fiction books out of 20, and I did complete one more challenge for the 52 book club challenge in August. Spoiler alert, I'm nearly finished. I've almost finished the last prompt 3 days into September because I'm determined to finish that this month. So yes, that is the Bingo Board from Hell update. I will insert a little overview of the stats page from my reading spreadsheet if you're interested in it. Otherwise, that's it for me on this wrap up. In the comments, I'd love to know, have you read any of these books? Are you planning on picking any of them up? Are there any books that are coming up in future videos that you are excited to hear my thoughts on? Feel free to let me know that down below as well. Otherwise, if you just want to let me know that you're here but don't leave a comment, feel free to leave any kind of emoji that represents stats or facts or graphs or things like that. Choose your favorite one, leave it down below. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you're in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.